One of the most important things that buyers don't think about is just their relationship with their lender. How does that lender communicate? Are they available? One of the first things I try to do is have a Zoom call where we can really just get a feel for each other.
Hey, thanks for coming to the show, bud.
Yeah, thanks
Good
for
to
having
see
me,
you.
man. Yeah, good to see you too.
So, loan officer at Rate. It used to be called Guaranteed Rate. Now it's called
Formerly
Rate.
Guaranteed Rate. Nothing's guaranteed anymore. We're just rate now.
There you go.
So,
I love it. Nice. Well, how's that experience been? Like moving to Rate, like how you like it?
it's been amazing. I was previously at Wells Fargo for 10 years, and it was a good run there. I learned a lot. That was my first mortgage job. Mortgage is not always the most important thing, and
Right.
it was for a long time when I was there, which was great. But my last years there, you could really feel that mortgage wasn't a priority anymore.
Yep.
So it's kind of tough when your job and your income and you feed your family based off
Mhm.
of doing mortgages, but you can feel that it's not a priority for your employer. But being at Rate, the whole company, top to bottom, all we do are mortgages, and it's a company that I hate. I don't like to sound like the person that's drinking the Kool-Aid, but they really bend over backwards to have a high level of service for customers, for partners. If we ever have an idea, I always tell people that I work with, like, if you have an idea and you didn't bring it up to somebody, that's your fault, because they're eager to try to implement ways to make everybody better at what we do. So.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, you guys are at the forefront of remote online notarization closings. When
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID.
We're like,
when COVID happened, you were already set up.
they were, it's crazy.
I mean, that must have been a good situation in a sense because you were so prepared.
Very good
Right?
situation, especially for, one of the times I use it the most is with our VA clients who are overseas. So to not have to schedule a time with a notary and meet with an actual person. I've done closings where, I've been in my basement and the buyer is in Japan and the notary's in Texas, and, it's cool to be able to make business happen conveniently for everybody.
And for those that don't know, a lot of times, we can do it on the person selling the home, but you can't do it for the person that's buying unless whoever's giving the mortgage approves it. And you guys have been on board from the beginning, made life super easy for many.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool.
And you guys, I give you guys credit too, because when you're working with the title company, if they don't know what they're doing, it makes it hard for everybody. Anytime we're doing one of those, that's the first thing my assistant says is like, who's the title company and have they done them before?
What are the pros and cons of that? Like, what are the risks? Well, one benefit of that is that actually there's third-party software to look up someone and verify they're a real person, they are who they say they are. In our industry, a lot of people don't know this, but like we check IDs, so if someone wanted to come into an office and act like they're another person, I mean, we're not necessarily experts on fake IDs, real IDs, and stuff like that. So that is another layer of just making sure that you are who you are.
Say you are.
So it's actually safer than people realize, when you do remote online notarization.
And it's faster. You don't have to like overnight a package. Everything's happening in real time, and everybody, the deal closes and records and funds all. Everybody paid on the back end. It all happens immediately as soon as that signing is over.
You've been doing some video stuff. I've been seeing it. It looks
good.
A
little bit.
What's your experience been with the video so far?
It's good. I mean, there's a huge value to it, but it takes time. Everything that I do depends on how busy I am with the actual mortgage application. So this time of year, I usually try to ramp up and do some. Try to make it as efficient as possible with trying to either myself doing a video by myself or getting somebody else to come in and talk with me. But I mean, you guys have a good setup here and a good process. It's good.
Yeah,
it's a huge value add. People scroll through on Instagram or whatever app that they're using, and video is going to catch you a lot more than stopping and reading something.
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of times in real estate, it's like, how do you remind people that you're out there, that you're doing stuff? And it's a great way to do it. So,
absolutely.
Who's doing the editing for you? Are you clicking it and then you get someone else to edit it, but you're starting the camera yourself?
Everything I record is on my phone. I record everything on my iPhone
Cool.
because that's the only way. I play with it a couple different times trying to figure out. We use webcams and different cameras, and the iPhone camera just looks the best. It's the easiest for sending the files to my marketing assistant who does the editing.
Yep.
We use an AI tool that actually does the editing for us. So it kind of pre-clips and does different shots and puts the captions in. So that's something that I pay for out of my pocket because I think it's a huge value add to make it quicker and easier for my marketing assistant to be able to take some of it off of her plate. But then there is a little bit on her end of getting the right part of the video in there, or maybe adjusting a frame or something.
Sure. From Myrtle Beach,
born and raised, never played golf growing up. What a tragedy.
Yeah, I hear you.
Basketball, football, all the sports, and never swung a golf club until I was long gone from Myrtle Beach.
It's like, so I look at it now with my kids. I'm like, all right, what are the things things I didn't do when I was younger that I'm going to get them into early. Skiing
Yep.
and golf, right?
Yep.
Those are the two.
Yeah.
So you went to Virginia Tech. What teams were you with?
So I was drafted to the Texans, and then I also played with the Dolphins and the Seahawks.
Awesome. Best organization you worked for?
And hands down was Seattle. It was my last team I was with, and it was just a huge difference, top to bottom. Owner, coaching, everything, staff, everybody involved. When you walk in that building, you could feel it.
Cool. Quarterback then was?
Matt Hasselbeck.
Okay.
Matt
Nice.
Hasselbeck. His locker was next to mine. And the first day I came into the building and met him, he asked where I played. I told him I played at Virginia Tech. And he said, they say our stadium's loud here in Seattle, but he said the loudest game I've ever played in was on a Thursday night in Blacksburg.
Really?
So played at Boston College.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, wow. That's as I hope you like to hear stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. So what's the biggest takeaway you learned from that life? Going to the pros, team sports. I mean, is there anything that you look back at your career, you're like, man, that was a great experience to set you up for success in the real world?
I would say just the ability to prepare. When you're putting together a game plan or learning about how you want to approach a certain game or a certain opponent, just the ability to over prepare and be a true professional in how you approach things. So if something you prepare for every possible scenario that you could come up with when you're running a certain play, and you do that with every single play,
right.
So that you're not surprised. There's nothing that's going to rattle you because you make decisions in a split second when somebody walks up on the line of scrimmage or drops back, or you have to be able to move quickly and not stop and let your mind slow you down. So that's just something that you way over prepare for all the time. And when you do that, you have these magic moments where it all clicks because you had that preparation.
The current motto, Prosim. And so did the NFL influence that or not?
So Ut Prosim is actually the motto of Virginia Tech.
Okay.
And it means that I may serve. So it's really a mentality and how the whole university approaches anything. Everything that you go about is having a servant heart and a servant mind, so that you put others before yourself, and that's just a way you approach everything in life. And that's the same thing I do in my business. I'm putting, how can I serve my clients? What can I do for them? How can I help them? The same with my referral partners. What can I do to go above and beyond to serve them? And at the end of the day, if you're doing that and taking care of other people, it's going to come back around.
Love it. You chose finance at Virginia Tech?
I did.
Yeah. Was that
was the last stop of many majors that I shuffled through in my career. Yeah.
Nice. Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I think I started as like a computer science major and then jumped to business information technology and hospitality tourism. And then all of a sudden I landed in a finance class that I really loved. And numbers and math were always my thing. And it was just the entrepreneurial mind and, how strategies, core competencies, like that whole way of thinking and, analyzing businesses and strategies and how to grow them. That I was super interested in that.
Cool. Everyone probably thinks they have a chance in the NFL, right? When do you realize that you either do or don't have a chance?
There's a lot of people that think they're going to the NFL on a college team, and joked in the past of like there's people that have no business thinking that they should be going there, that's their true plan. And on the opposite side of that, there's a person like myself, I never planned or even thought that was an option. I was a backup for my first three, freshman through junior year. We had a 4-year starter that I was playing behind the left tackle.
Yeah.
And we had a really good right tackle. So I was what you call the swing tackle. I would go in and give the left tackle a break and give the right tackle a break. And that's where I got most of my reps until the last game of my junior year, where the starting left tackle, I think he hurt his knee like 2 days before the game. So, fast forward after that game, I played a great game, stepped up and did a great job. And almost immediately after that game is when people started getting in my ear and telling me, oh, well, like, if you have a good year next year, that's kind of like the paving way and the path to going and playing at the next level. So,
well, it's interesting because I would think too, like, man, if you're going to make it in the pros, you've got to dominate your entire college career and start 3 years, so like it is interesting because you hear these stories. When you even hear it, I feel like sometimes you hear like, oh, I played basketball, I never played football, but then they make tight end or something like that. Like there's so many freak talents out there, right? That just might not have, I don't know, grown in their body when they're younger, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah. And so I actually came to Virginia Tech as a defensive end. I didn't play offensive line in high school, but I switched my second year at Virginia Tech. I switched offensive line, so it was still learning offensive line in a sense. I was new to that. The other thing that helped me was the weight room and the preparation. I tested well. I was a good guy at the combine to go bench press and run the 40 and all that.
So a lot of borrowers are focused on interest rates, like only. What are the other overlooked factors that are just as critical in choosing a mortgage?
One of the most important things that buyers don't think about is just their relationship with their lender. How does that lender communicate? Do you guys, do you speak the same way? Do you think the same way? Are they available? So one of the first things I try to do is have a Zoom call where we can really just get a feel for each other. And I can talk about more than just this mortgage in this house. For me, it's about understanding the big picture. Do they have other stuff going on? Do they have kids? Are they trying to save for college? Do they have other financial, burdens or goals that I can help with? And I think if you can kind of connect on a personal level and also understand each other and be able to communicate well, and it's more to it than just an interest rate at the end of the day.
And there's a lot of different products out there too. I mean, so whether you got ARMs, whether you have 15-year, whether you have 30, whether, and there's just so many different options that can affect your finances and as you plan for,
So many products. That's one of the things that kind of almost overwhelmed me when I came to Rate, is that we had so many products that I wasn't used to and I wasn't familiar with. And there's still, to this day, there's products that I don't even know about. I'm learning. We just had an event last week where I learned about 3 new products that we rolled out. We rolled out 234 new loan products last year.
That's
So it's like, how can you know all of them until you have a client who has a need or has a problem, and then one of these solves that problem as a solution.
Sure.
Again, that's one of the best things about being at my company at Rate, is we have so many solutions that if a surprise comes up or if there's a problem that comes along, we're not just stuck with this one option. We have so many other ways. We can call an audible and get you in a different, better play against this defense. So
in today's environment, is there a certain product you're seeing a lot of that you guys have that's doing really well versus other products you have that kind of stands out?
we have a first-time homebuyer grant, a program and grant combination where they're getting, your first-time homebuyers get a discounted interest rate, which is super helpful in the rate environment that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, we give an $8,500 grant to them, which helps them with their down payment, or they can use it to buy down the rate, so they can use that however they'd like. That's a huge program. It's been great for my clients this past year. We gave away a lot of money in those grants. Another one that kind of is more recent is a program designed for move-up buyers, where they may not have sold their house yet, but they're going to sell their house. So we have a way to remove that housing payment, so it's not hurting them on their buying power on the new home. So that's been a great one as well.
Is that a bridge loan of some sort?
It's not a bridge loan.
Okay.
It's not, but it eliminates the need for a bridge loan. So
So what's the biggest mistake you see that people are making when they're trying to get a loan or buying a house?
is they call, they'll call 3 lenders, they ask them for their rates, and they pick a lender based on the rate that they gave them. You have certain lenders out there that know that buyers are doing that, and they're just going to quote them a low rate, this imaginary rate, because that's who they're, that's how they're picking their lender at that time. Well, they're not locking that rate. There's nothing set in stone that says that's going to be the rate once you have an offer accepted. So I think that buyers invest too much into that initial rate quote that they're getting up front, and not as much into the overall, like I said, the relationship with the lender. What's their availability? Are they going to be around at nights or on weekends when you're trying to make an offer?
And then even closing a deal in 2 to 3 weeks.
Exactly.
4 weeks, the underwriting process.
That's the other thing about focusing on rate. When you focus on the interest rate, a rate doesn't do you any good without a house. So I have, there's certain programs out here that have these great rates, but it takes 45 days to close. Well, if there's 10 offers on a house, you're not going to have 45 days to close, or you're going to way overpay for this house. So being able to close in 2 weeks gives our clients a competitive advantage to compete in those situations where their offer stands out.
So let's go family here. So you have all daughters, is this right?
3 girls.
3 girls.
3 girls.
What are the ages?
7, 5, and 2.
Oh, man, you're right in it.
Oh, man.
You're
It's never a dull moment in my house.
I'm 11, 8, and 5. I'm right in it. You're right in it.
Yeah.
I think you're harder, though, because at least with the 5-year-old, like, she can get up in the morning, go downstairs. The 2-year-old, no, man, still getting
she's
woken
a
up.
wild one. She runs the house. They play a lot of sports. Just this past weekend, my oldest daughter started playing basketball. The older 2 both do tennis. They play soccer together. They do gymnastics. I mean, you name it. They're in a little bit of everything, which is awesome.
That's great. Are you attending practices at nighttime a lot yourself?
Yeah, we my wife and I split those up a little bit. I am actually the soccer coach. I was the head coach this past year. They allow my middle daughter to play on my older daughter's team. So I'm like, I'll coach if I can, 2 girls, 1 practice.
All right, man, we're moving. This is good. So we set up this thing as rapid fire. All right, we got a rapid fire. We got some different questions here.
Okay.
One thing every borrower should ask their lender, but rarely does.
Are you available on nights and weekends?
Such a massive advantage. Like you said, you need to get pre-approved, and so
or I'll take
need
it a step
letter.
Further. Like, what's your cell phone number? Like, can I text you on nights and weekends? Like, that's the having that availability can make or break an offer.
One thing you miss and don't miss about playing the NFL.
Don't miss the way my body felt the morning after a game. The most common answer, I used to be the vice president of the DC NFLPA chapter. The most common answer for things that guys miss is the locker room, because you can't really recreate that environment with that many guys and that type of bond. The thing that I would say is the daily competition that you have. Every single day, you're going to compete with people who are at the best of their class and the best of what they do, and you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but you're going to get better every single day.
What's the one mortgage myth you wish you could debunk?
Probably PMI. People have such a bad idea of what PMI is and what it's about, and it's really such a great thing that allows people to put less money down. People always think it's going to be so expensive, so that's one of the things I try to talk through with my clients when we're looking at options. Like, well, I have to put put 20% down. I don't want to pay TMI, and then kind of show them these numbers where, you know, putting 5% down versus putting 20% down doesn't really move the needle that much, you know. So maybe that extra 15% is better off somewhere else making money for
making
you.
money for you, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's a good point too. Everyone's always thinking of the outflow, but like if you're actually getting money, whether you're getting 5% or you're actually getting 10% on a good investment plan, then you got to consider that too, right?
Absolutely.
If your daughters were to describe what you do in one sentence, what would they say?
Oh, that's easy. Daddy helps people buy houses. They all want to buy houses. They talk about the house they want to buy and where they want to live.
That's
It's
funny.
cool.
I have a little more complicated situation being in the title industry. Let's think about how I explain this to my 8-year-old. Right? It's like, all right, you know, when you sign things, well, you have to sign things when you buy a house. I think that's about as far as we've gotten. But real estate
I
industry.
always say you're the cashier of the transaction.
There you
You
go.
guys are
There
the
you go.
cashier. You collect all the money and you pay it back
That's
out to
it.
everybody.
That's it. I like it. Is there a book or resource that you recommend to clients?
Clients that are super like rate sensitive and want to try to, you know, jump into the world of predicting what's going to happen with rates or see what has been happening with rates, I usually direct them to Mortgage News Daily, which is an app that kind of tells you what's happening and what events are coming up and predictions on what's going to happen with interest rates. That's probably the number one resource that I refer clients to, other than, you know, a good real estate agent, which is a great resource as well.
Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, I like the products you have in that grant.
We rolled out 234 products last year. A lot of those are for investors. The statistic was like 26% of all transactions last year were investment properties. And, you know, the number of products that we have right now is just mind blowing to help investors be able to purchase a property where, you know, if you have somebody that's self-employed or has multiple businesses, we have, you know, cash flow options where as long as the property's cash flow positive, they're going to be approved. We don't need to need tax returns. We can reduce paperwork. You know, we have options to help title the property in an LLC, which is tough to do, you know, compliantly, so that if something were to happen, they're not on the line for doing something they weren't supposed to do.
Yep.
There's just so many, you know, bank statement loans. There's so many options out there to help investors be able to enter the market or continue to acquire properties, which is nice.
I mean, yeah, no, we're seeing more and more of that, and there's a ton of investors sitting on the sidelines too that we're hearing like, those rates drop a little bit, like we're coming in strong. So,
well, I feel like a lot of them took advantage last year, even when the rates were high. When people slow down and these investors, you know, that are savvy, they can leverage the properties they already have to acquire more.
Yep.
That's the other thing, is doing home equity lines. We do home equity lines on investment properties, and that's a big area that's not covered well by a lot of lenders. And to have an option for them to help them acquire even more and grow their portfolio is a great solution.
Best way to get in touch with you?
Cell phone.
Cell phone? There it is. What is it?
My cell phone's everywhere. 843-267-1054.
Love it, man.
Call me,
Love
text
it.
me.
You've been awesome to work with. It's a great time. Love to see that you're getting better at Just Let Me As Golf, becoming experts. It's been fun.
Yeah,
It's been fun. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's keep it going. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.